What's cracking, ladies and gentlemen? 49 coming out another community shoutcast for the OUSA Dota League Season 2. We're loading into game number 3 of 5IP up against Horsemen and Ruckus in the winners bracket finals. 5IP, despite having a fantastic game number 1, I guess Horsemen and Ruckus came up with a counter to the Undying dual lanes that 5IP have been experimenting with. You banned out the Omni Knight, and because Mule was over in that safe lane PA, while they had a fantastic start with the Centaur War Runner and the Rubik dual lane in the bottom lane, they were able to kill Dumbledy 2 times, get a few kills over in gaps as well, and really win the lane despite the fact that they shouldn't be. They weren't able to really capitalize on their advantage. I suppose they got complacent because they assumed they had the superior late game, and they really did, but the issue with the Drow Ranger, as well as the Death Prophet, is if you lose a single fight against them, and they're still alive, they're going to be able to take your tower, and they're going to take your set of racks. So 5IP, going for a first pick Lich, they really want to be able to pick up the Omni Knight this time. The Horsemen and Ruckus, they've banned out the exact same heroes every single game of their series. They hate playing against the Lycanthrope and the Brewmaster, because the Brewmaster wins you every single fight in the first 20 minutes. Once he has a Blink Dagger, and assuming he's able to get a good clap and split combo off, because he's just so damn powerful with the amount of control he provides that he ensures that you're finding these fights 3v5. Because one hero cycloned up, usually you can cyclone up the carry unless you're prioritizing him first. You stun lock whatever target you want to go for, you run at them, you focus fire that target down, you kill everybody else off, and then the cyclone target drops, and then you bring him down as well. It provides you an incredible amount of laning control. Because with the Drunken Brawler, Pandaren Brewmaster, now that's guaranteed for the crit as well as the dodge, he's actually a very powerful 1v1 hero. And if the enemy player actually misplays, you get hit by the clap, you can actually go for a lot of solo kills. Because you've got that guaranteed crit, about 150 physical damage you're adding on top of the insane amount of damage and the snare coming up from the Drunken Clap. Drunken Clap's actually one of the most effective AoE nukes in the game. The only limiting factor is the fact that Brewmaster has an absolutely terrible mana pool. First pick, Clockwork, so UGTFO signature hero. Able to do a lot of work for his team. The reason why the Drow Ranger pickup worked is because they had two space creators. You've got the Death Prophet, who pops Exorcism, and you run the hell away from her, because you've got scary ghosts flying at you, and the closer you are to the Death Prophet, the more damage you're going to be taking from the spirits. And you've got the Clockwork that jumps on your priority heroes and forces you to deal with them, because if you don't, he's going to kill whatever heroes got trapped in the cogs and whatever hero he's beating with the battery assault. And so it meant that they were never able to prioritize Dumbledy. And so Dumbledy could just sit there in the back line throwing out arrows, and eventually when they did decide to prioritize him, since Mule and Only both decided to jump him, he was too farmed. He didn't give a damn at that point. He had BKB, he had Helm Dominator, he had the Alpha Wolf, and the Mantis Style, so he could just man-fight. Even without the Marksman, he was able to outfight Mule. And that's the biggest disadvantage of the Phantom Assassin in that one position role, is she needs too much farm to really be effective. Because unlike any other character, Faceless Void, if he's able to win 1v1 fights because of time lock, the Phantom Assassin is entirely dependent on coup de grace procs. And in the mid lane, because you get so much experience, you have a lot of solo killing power, because you have level 2, level 3 coup de grace very early on, before the enemy heroes have enough levels to have a lot more survivability, before they have their core items up. But in game number 2, because he actually didn't have enough time to build these damage items, the only damage item he had was the phase boots. So he went phase drum to BKB, he wasn't able to farm another damage item up. And so he couldn't man-fight against the Drow Ranger. So this time they go for the Lich Faceless Void, so 5IP. First time they picked up Void so far in any of the series I've actually casted with them. So it's going to be Broda playing that Faceless Void. They usually like to go for the Titan if it's not banned, but they ban it up themselves if they're playing against it. They ban out the Silencer to prevent that lockdown. And Silencer hard counters the Faceless Void before he gets a BKB. It forces Void to have to go for a BKB, because every time he time walks forward, you press R, the Global Silence completely wrecks his initiation, because the Global Silence is a 0 cast point, and then Faceless Void's got 0.5 for the Chronosphere, so when he walks in, it's very obvious that he's going to Chronosphere you. So when he raises his hands, you press R, he can't do anything, you done focus fire him down, and so it's a great way to counteract the Faceless Void, because it forces him to go for a BKB, and it means that in the early engagements, where Void is meant to be his most powerful, because he could guarantee a kill on whatever target you Chronosphere, Silencer completely disrupts that. And so Omni Knight ban coming up from Horsemen and Ruckus, they really are sick of Wolfcun's Omni Knight for good reason, because every time he is able to get a good start on that Omni Knight, a 5IP able to win that game. The Omni Knight provides you so much control and so much survivability in these fights, because he gives you a free BKB. And not even that, it's actually better than a BKB. Max out repel, 14-second cooldown, 12-second duration. It's absolutely balls out overpowered. The only thing that balances Omni Knight is his incredibly high cast point, 0.54, and the fact that he needs such a huge amount of farming experience for him to really be effective, because if you run him as a support hero, unless you're able to take a lot of towers early on, get a lot of kills, and unless the enemy team's able to counteract, if they don't counteract your greed, then he's effective as a 4 position, but otherwise you need him as a 3. You need a lot of investment for him to be effective. They ban out Dumbledy's Abaddon, so fairing the carry Abaddon. The reason why they ban out the Abaddon, the reason why it works so well with Horsemen and Ruckus, is because the Abaddon's a very self-sufficient carry. You can leave him alone, and it's very difficult to kill him, because he's got the aphotic shield. He'll have phase boots up before you do, since he'll have the first few waves of farm. And so he could actually, if you dive him, he could pop the shield, stand his ground, and right-click you down the Curse of Avernus. Because the Curse of Avernus hurts like hell. It provides you the snare, provides you attack speed increase for everyone attacking you. And the shield provides a huge switch, a reversal in regards to HP, because it's effectively providing him a 200 HP buffer that can then reflect on you. So it's a 400 HP shift every time he uses a shield. And so because Abaddon can be left to his own devices against a solo offlaner, or even against a tri-lane, it means that the other two supports can play very aggressively. So Gat's going to be playing his Ancient Apparition. The only disadvantage of Gat's on the AA is he doesn't really participate in teamfights. He sits there on his own, he's split pushing another lane, and then he just throws out the Ice Blast. And that's something that AA can do, but you also want to be providing that Chilling Touch. You also want to be throwing out those Ice Vortexes, because they do amplify your team's damage output by a huge amount. And when you're, of course, split pushing, is if they back away, they can just pick you off, because you're on your own, you've got no escape mech. And so the AA is a very greedy support hero. You have to be able to find these kills and find these towers for him to really be worth it. Because otherwise, if you're not able to get that level 2 Ice Blast up in a good enough time, the AA actually really does taper off very quickly. And so the Omni Knight, as well as the Viper, being banned up by Horsemen and Ruckus. Viper being banned up because he's the single most powerful 1v1 hero in the game. You don't really win a lane against a Viper. You try to break even and not get completely destroyed. Because it's difficult you can't trade hits with him because of the Corrosive Skin, as well as the Poison Attack, decreasing your attack speed. So he's got 3 ways to control your attack speed as well as your movement speed. He's got the Nether Toxins, he'll out CS you, so if you play passive against a Viper, he'll outlast hit and out deny everything that you do. Then he'll get the level lead. And Viper as well in general is a very powerful hero because he forces you to focus him. So he's a much more effective Bristleback, because the issue with Bristleback is if you don't build damage, and if you don't go for early points in goo, they can ignore you. What are you going to do? They could kill the rest of your team, because of course you don't want to focus the Bristleback. You're going to be eating more cold sprays. It's the worst thing you could do. So you completely disregard the Bristleback, because if he doesn't have points in goo, you could just run away from him. He has nowhere to hold you in place. He's not going to be able to deal that damage, and because he needs the fight to go long enough for the cold spray to really be effective, you can pretty much disregard him as a hero, focus everybody else down, and then leave the Bristleback for last. Viper, you can't do that, because if you leave Viper alone, he will kill everybody, because he's got 3 snares built into him. So not only is he dealing huge amounts of damage with the Nether Toxin, he's increasing the rest of your team's damage output, because it helps with focus firing down targets. Because all of his abilities the snares just ensure that everybody else is able to get a lot more shots in. And that means it doesn't matter what target you're firing on, the rest of your team can, if you coordinate with your team, you can concentrate all your fire on a single target at a time and just bring them down. And so Viper, you cannot ignore the Viper. And so it forces you to always have to deal with them. So I like to call him and Razor very similar in their sense, and the role that they play. They're retard magnets. They force you to deal with them. They get up in your face. You can't ignore them because they deal so much damage or they provide so much utility that if you ignore them, you're going to lose the game. You're going to lose that fight because they provide such a huge amount of damage output on their own, even without too many items, just through their abilities, that you have to deal with them. And when you deal with them, they're very tanky and they're very difficult to deal with. And so it means that your team then has an advantage since they could... since the other heroes aren't being focused on, aren't being attacked, and the other hero, and if they do die, they've done their job because I've drawn all that fire and all that control. So Invoker pickup coming from 5 IP, immediately being countered by the Outworld Devourer, and so the Invoker, whenever Invoker's picked up, you only ever see cross exile Invoker, and the reason for that is Invoker is one of the greediest heroes in the game. He needs a huge amount of gold, a huge amount of experience for him to really be effective, and the best way for him to find that is in a solo lane. But the disadvantage of that is if you run into a solo lane, because Cold Snap's been nerfed, so it no longer is absolutely overpowered like it used to be, it does damage times 7 of your Quas level, and since you usually have very low levels in Quas, it means that you're going to be dealing 7 to 14 damage per Cold Snap proc. And so Invoker has to go Quas Exort, because before you could go Quas Wex, because you're simply relying on how overpowered Cold Snap was, and rely on that as well as the EMP or the Tornado to be the win your lane, because you can simply just harass them out, and with the Quas Sustain, they can't do anything to drive you out. But now, because Quas Wex Invoker has been nerfed, with Cold Snap being receiving nerf, as well as the EMP taking a lot longer to explode than it used to, it was nerfed in the patch before this one, so it takes about a little bit longer to explode than it did before, so it means that you have to EMP then Tornado before you can Tornado and EMP, and the AoE would be big enough for you to catch him out. So it means that unless you're exceptionally skilled in that Quas Wex Invoker, unless you have a lineup that can really capitalize with that, you have to go Quas Exile, because otherwise you're going to lose your lane. And if you give OD a free lane, he will destroy you, because he's very powerful in the mid and late game. He's one of the hardest scaling late game heroes in the game, because if he stacks enough in, he can start a fight with your entire team at half HP or with no mana. Because the Sanity's Eclipse is absolutely insane in regards to how much damage, how much control it provides you in these fights. 5 IP opting once again for the Lich Undying support duo, so we could be seeing perhaps dual lanes coming out, with the Faceless Void Lich duo over in the off lane. So Lich to ensure that Faceless Void is a good time, and Undying and another carry, so we could be seeing Undying Wraith King over the top lane. And the Horsemen and Ruckus, they actually haven't been banning out Doom because they've been focusing on the Pandaria and Brewmaster, but Doom hasn't been picked up against them. Doom are going to work fantastically against the OD. Because you doom because so far that lineup, they've got one hero that really the majority of the farm and the majority of the damage is coming from. That's the OD. And what does Doom do? He just presses R, clicks on that hero, and that hero is now useless. And so that means that he works very well against 4 Protect 1 strats or dual core strats, because it gives you the ability to take that core out of the fight immediately with very little risk to himself. Wraith King being banned out, and so Wraith King works very well against the Void because he gives you if in that one position role, he gives you that reincarnate, because I've got no way to really control him unless if Invoker goes plus Wex. But if Invoker goes plus Wex, then OD completely destroys him in lane. And so that means that if Wraith King's able to get that reincarnate off in the fights, he pretty much wins it for you, because when he reincarnates, the 75% snare is absolutely obscene. It means OD's getting all the free shots in the world. The entire team snared up for 3 seconds. He comes back to life with full mana. If he's going for a blink attack, he can immediately re-engage. So Tiny going to be the 1-position hero over for Horsemen and Ruckus. Tiny, incredibly powerful 1-position hero if he's able to get enough farm in the early stages of the game for him to really start to hit his momentum. Of course, the same could be said for every other carry hero, but the thing that distinguishes Tiny from other carries is he is very powerful in the early stages of the game. He's weakest at level 1 and level 2, because that's when he doesn't have access to his combo, that's when he doesn't have enough points to skills for his abilities to do a lot of damage. But once he has enough mana to be able to execute his combo, once he has enough points in the Avalanche and into the Toss, Tiny's Avalanche combo, Avalanche to the Toss combo does obscene amount of damage at max level with maxed out Grow, 1100 magic damage if you time it perfectly. Because when you toss a target up with the Avalanche, they count as they get hit by 2 ticks of each Avalanche. So instead of 4 ticks of 75 damage each, they're taking 8 ticks. So that effectively doubles the damage of Avalanche, and then they take the toss damage when you throw them up and when they hit the ground. And so Tiny used to be played as a ganker because of that, of how much damage he does with that burst combos. You used to see him mid, but with the Aghanim Scepter, you now play him as a carry. And the biggest advantage of a 1-position Tiny is he is incredibly tanky. All the items he builds, the first big items he builds, probably going to be treads into Drums of Endurance into the Aghanim Scepter. It gives him about 2,000 HP. So you've got a 2,000 HP Tiny coming at you with a big stick. He's got the lockdown, so he can use the Avalanche to give himself some free shots. He moves faster than you because he's got treads, he's got the grow. So you can't really do anything to him. Unless you use all your abilities to be able to try to control and kill the Tiny, you're not going to be able to deal with them. And if you can't deal with if you're dealing with the Tiny, then Dumble D is able to deal damage. The Outworld Destroyer just smacks you around. He's actually went for boots first because he knows he's up against the Razor. So Razor, one of the counters to the OD, because OD relies on being able to control the enemy's mana pool. I mean, outlast hit them in lane. And Razor, he does pretty much the exact same thing. He relies on stealing your damage and using that to be able to win that lane. So Razor sending your boots first. So counter boots coming out from the Outworld Destroyer. And the boys from Horsemen and Ruckus are going in for a smoke rotation. Going to introduce the players from the team. Dumble D going to be the 2-position Outworld Destroyer. King Killer going to be the 1-position Tiny. Gad's going to be the 4-position Ancient Apparition. Looks like Smoke just broke, so they know that someone's around there. And Method Man going to be the 5-position. Actually, he's going to be the 4-position this time as the Sand King. And Gad's going to be the 5-position as the Ancient Apparition. Wolfguard looks like going to the top lane, so he's going to be playing an Intelligence hero. Next, he gets spotted out. And Sandy's the Astral Imprisonment set it up. Where's the Avalanche coming out? Method Man catching out the Bar Strike. Usually about the Bar Strike. They get first blow from Wolfguard. Wolfguard, whenever he doesn't play a strength hero, his win rate plummets dramatically. Over for 5 IP. Wolfguard going to be what looks like a solo safe lane Invoker. Broder going to be the Undying as the 5-position farmer. Mule going to be the 1-position Razor, the 2-position Razor in the mid lane. And Ghoulie going to be the 5-position Lich, with only going to be the 3-position as the Faceless Void. And so we are going to be seeing the dual lanes happening. Ghoulie going to be picking up that haste rune, at least to ensure he doesn't get killed. But because he actually rotated very early on, wasn't able to sacrifice a creep in the mid lane. So that means that Mule, he actually immediately eats an Astral. The reason why Razor also works well against the OD is OD, all of his abilities, apart from the Sanity, is single target. The ability to be using in lane is going to be the Astral Imprisonment. Now, once he gets 2 points up in the unstable current, every time you Astral him, you're going to be eating enough purge time that Razor's going to guaranteed to get a good link off. So he gets 2 seconds of the link, and that's going to be enough to be able to outlast hit the Outworld Devourer, because now the damage is Razor now has a damage advantage, and Outworld Destroyer, he's completely dependent on having the damage advantage to be able to win the lane. And so the Razor pickup going to do a lot of work, even though he picked up counter boots. I believe Razor still should have the advantage in this, especially since he doesn't even have to get a good. As long as he gets 1-2 ticks of the static link, he'll be able to control the Outworld Devourer, and he'll be able to out-CS him. And once you out-CS an Outworld Devourer, because he's such a greedy hero, Outworld Devourer, the only guaranteed killing power he has is at level 6 with the Sanity. Other than that, he can't really do anything. You can't really gank a lane as the Outworld Devourer, unless, I suppose, if you have like a really good rune, so a double damage with the Sanity available, then you can try to go for a gank, but you really don't want to. You want to sit mid for as long as possible. Ghoulie actually takes him full. As a Chilling Touch, Avalanche into the Bar Strike combo, being enough for me to bring him down. So only left on his own. So only going to be the only one there. 3 clarities popping from Horsemen and Ruckus to ensure that they're able to get their mana up, especially since Tiny, this is his biggest limiting factor. Is at the moment he doesn't have enough stats to give himself the mana to use both the Avalanche and the Toss. So as I was saying, Tiny's weakest at that level, but the advantage of the Tiny is since he's a carry hero with a stun, he could set up. So he was able to do that. So he's set up for a Method Man to be able to get that Burrow Strike in, and UGTFO, he should be having a okay lane, because it's a dual lane this time, he's just up against the Undying. He's not really too afraid, but Wolfgang, he's forced to go for the Cross Exalt build, because the advantage of the Cross Exalt build with the Faceless Void is it gives you fantastic synergy. You're guaranteed a Sunstrike, and that means that every single time you Chronosphere, you should be getting a kill. Because you've got the pure damage coming in from the Sunstrike, as well as the right clicks with the Time Lock. It looks like only actually opted for a point and backtrack very early on. So usually you actually see a lot of players full go backtrack in the laning stage, because the 10% pseudo random chance to be able to negate an instance of damage is nice. But you need more points up in the you either go for a max Time Lock build where you go for 2 to 4 points, or you go for a max Time Lock. And the max Time Lock build gives you a lot more damage. Since it's a dual lane, would have liked to see the max Time Lock build, because you only really need about 2 points up in the you only need about 2 points in the Time Lock for it to give you enough initiation range. If you're playing really far from behind, then you want to go for a max out Time Lock build to ensure that you can get the Chronosphere to set up and try to create space that way. And now with Devour in the mid lane, actually Dumbledee's outlast hitting Mule. So this is the matchup I was always talking about, Dumbledee and Mule, both probably the best mid players, or 1v1 players in Dunedin. So now we see them going head to head, with a matchup that actually favors Mule, but Mule's having a bit of a difficult time. Dumbledee's got a lot more denies, and denies are much more important. This is another reason why Outworld Devour is such an effective mid lane hero, is when he astrals, you astral them to not only give yourself damage, but to be able to get these free denies in. Similar to a tanker with the laser, you laser them when they go for a last hit, and then you deny it. Right in front of them, then you go for the next CS. Outworld Devour does the exact same thing with the Sanity, but now there's a point up with the astral. But now there's a point up in the unstable current. It's actually going to be very difficult. Dumbledee actually going to be throwing his life away. He's got no mana for astral imprisonment. Mule's going to get first, going to get a kill over in the mid lane. But with the Poot's advantage over an Outward Devourer, unfortunately Mule opted for 2 points, an early point in the Plasma Field. Very surprising, opted for a point in Plasma Field considering it's against an OD, so he's going to be expecting to lose a lot of mana. Probably could have actually chose to opt for a second point in the Unstable Current to give himself a bit more movement speed. Maybe might be able to skill the kill with that. But Dumbledee, he's got a double damage rune up. He actually misses uphill, so it's a bit unfortunate. Static Link now flies. It's actually sapping off all the bonus damage he gets from it, and Mule actually gets a free courier. So Dumbledee, huge misplay coming from him. His bottle's now been delayed, and Mule's actually now won the mid lane from that. The advantage you get, UGTF are actually going to be called out. One more right click coming up from Wolfgang. Actually, no, just barely enough to Stout Shield block, keeping him alive. And Brodo kicking himself. He wished he had enough mana to be able to throw out the decay for that. So UGTFO barely limps away with his life. But level 4 up on him, only about level 4.5 as well, but Ghouli's level 2. He's going to be relying on that sacrifice to be able to make sure he doesn't fall too far behind. Gat's getting a lot of tower hits from that. And so exposing himself, that's the biggest issue with the AA, is he provides a huge amount of damage, but he's very fragile. And so in this case, you've got the Sand King to be able to provide you that lockdown. But Method Man, not farming up the jungle, he's been playing very actively, and he's been sitting there because you've got a lot of killing power with the Tiny. You've got the Avalanche to set up for the Burrow Strike, and then you've got the Chilling Touch damage on top of that. So I suppose it does make a fair amount of sense. He's rotating down to the jungle, being able to start stacking, because he wants to be able to find as much farm as possible in the early stages of the game. Since once you move past the laning stage, not being able to find enough farm, but while they say the Gas caught out of position, actually gets smacked down. Right, rotate, then they drop the Tombstone, so the Tombstone is there to ensure that kill. Now that he's going to point up in the Time Lock, probably going for 2 points in the Time Lock. Now, since he's got the dual lane, actually opting for more points in Time Lock. Disagreeing with this build because it doesn't give you enough killing power, but of course, I suppose the rationale for this is so long as he's able to get good Chronosphere off, he could guarantee, Wolfgang could guarantee the kill with the Sunstrike. But even then, because the dual lane's been playing fairly aggressively, it looks like it's translated into a tri lane now. The extra points in Time Walk early on don't really give you too much killing power. Decay actually lands on 2, good Decay coming out, and the extra advantage as well as the extra snare coming out from Time Walk ensures a kill. So good play coming out from Brodo, able to get that 2-man Decay. Goldie follows up with the Frost Blast and then only just jumps in. And catch up can kill him and bring him down. The biggest disadvantage of a Tiny is, unlike a lot of other carry heroes, is he's completely offensive. He's a bit of a glass cannon because he's got 0 armor. But he's got, actually, looks like Kingkiller opted for Arcane Boots, and so very unconventional build over the Tiny. You usually see Treads or Phase over on the carry position Tiny. Prefer Treads because the only thing Tiny lacks is the attack speed. He gets movement speed from Grow. He's probably going to be going for Treads as well, so he has all the movement speed in the world. So you really want to go for a lot of attack speed to be able to capitalize on the Grow, since Grow actually has a Malice that decreases your attack speed in exchange for giving you a huge amount of damage. And Mule, he's going for the straight up Mech Rush. So no bottle up on him. He's going for a very standard build, so 4-2-1, so once he gets level 7, he's going to max out that Plasma Field. So he knows that because Dumbledee has to play so passively against him, he doesn't really have to fare for his mana pool too much. And Double D, with that death and with the courier being denied, he's now starting to fall quite heavily behind. Mule's got a lot more CS than them now. And with that courier kill as well, gold lead should be going a little bit in favor of 5 IP. So 500 gold lead, now the kill score has evened out. Since courier is basically worth half as much gold as a tower. In regards to the amount of gold, it gives you about 1,500, about 1,200 EXP lead. And he gets a link off before he gets Astral. So he gets 1 charge off, which doesn't seem like much, but it gives Razor enough base damage to contest OD for last hits. Undying actually does get a kill over on UGTFO. Wolfguard barely kept alive. Method Man not going to be called out of position. This is fleeing for his life. It doesn't have enough mana for a bar strike, so I could choose to go for this. If Wolfguard had the Cold Snap invoked, looks like he doesn't have enough mana to be able to use it. So Method Man should be able to limp on out of there. And King Kill in the bottom lane, just left alone with Gats. Up against the dual lane of the Lich as well as the Faceless Void. There's a lot of killing power on this dual lane. And the disadvantage of the AA is you can't really dual lane with the AA unless you have another ranged hero, but even then, you need the other support hero to be able to help set up. Because if you Chilling Touch the Tiny, he's only really going to be able to get 1, maybe 2 hits off with his poor base attack speed. And Gats, he can't really stop them from ganking you. All he can really do is throw damage to be able to force them back. But when it's just you up against the Lich, who's going to constantly be throwing out Frost Blast on King Killer or on the AA, and the Faceless Void that can jump in and immediately engage, especially now that the Chronosphere available. Wolfguard has enough mana for a Sunstrike. They can actually go for a kill right now if they catch out King Killer, or if they go on Gats, because you've got 290 pure damage coming out from that Sunstrike. So if he's able to get 1 to 2 Time Lock procs, he should be enough damage to bring him down. But that being said, because he opted for so many points in the Time Walk, a lot of his killing power isn't there, so they probably should be going over on the AA. But basically, every time the Chronosphere is off cooldown, you can use it to get a kill, use it to get a kill. That's one of the reasons why Faceless Void is so powerful. Only go win in for the Chronosphere. Unfortunately, W is able to Astral in time. Only 1 second charge of the Static Link. So Mule, that's going to be on cooldown for a little while longer. He's almost got his mech up, so going to see something like a 9-minute mech. If you just go for the mech rush, you should be getting a 9 to 10 minute mech. It's very easy to get that, even 8 minutes if you get a kill. And so it gives your team a huge advantage at the early stages of the game. Because it means that you can group up for side, or if you go for these ganks, the 250 HP swing is going to be absolutely massive. And so Razor, the rationale behind maxing out the Plasma Field is Plasma Field hurts like hell. 370 damage, and the biggest advantage of it is you're guaranteed to hit it on multiple targets. Unlike a lot of other nuking abilities, then AoE, Plasma Field is absolutely huge because it flies out from you. All you have to do is run up. You should be able to hit 2-3 heroes. If you hit that support, you're going to take out about half a Gats' life. You're going to also be taking out a good chunk of Sand King's life. And so it forces the supports to back off because they can no longer play aggressively. Whereas if you go for a max Static Link build, they can just simply turn around and focus fire you down before you get a good enough link off. You can also use it to control the creep equilibrium, so you can use it to push out your lane to ensure that you get the rune. But Razor, he's not even going for a bottle. So it probably doesn't necessarily need rune control. But now he's got a level 2 unstable current. Every time Double D goes in for that, he's going to be taking a fair amount of damage. But the purge is really going to be what's effective. And it ensures that he's able to get that link off. Over the top lane, Wolfguard went for the Hand of Midas, a very standard Quas Exile Invoker build. Midas is absolutely fantastic on the Invoker because it gives you such a huge increase in your experience. And that's what Invoker is completely dependent on. Invoker hits his peak when he hits level 17 because that's when you have the max out Invoke. And so if you're going for an Aghanim Scepter, having that at level 17 and the Aghanim Scepter means that you're going to constantly throw all your abilities. Double D actually goes for a kill using that Sandy's Eclipse, and so that's when OD gets his killing power. But since a lot of OD players actually don't go for Sandy's Eclipse until level 9, that's the only time that you really have a way to be able to go for a kill. And so Mule underestimating how much intelligence he'd lost, and Double D able to just go for a kill like that. And of course the advantage of the Midas Invoker is the Quas Exile Invoker actually hurts a lot, at 160 damage per right click, and that's just with 4 points up in the Exile. Once he gets 7 points up, he actually hits incredibly hard. So having the extra movement speed is actually very nice, because the Quas Exile Invoker actually deals a substantial amount of DPS. You have to treat him as a semi-carry, because that's what he is. And once, it looks like he's going to be going for the Zoo build since he opted for the Midas. So Midas into Necronomicon 3, maybe a 4-star before or afterwards to give yourself a bit more mobility, and then start to pick up something like a BKB or go for a Sheep Stick. And so the Zoo build relies on the fact that Cold Snap procs with every instance of damage, and with 4 points of the Exile, which he's got now, you have double Forge Spirits. So you've got the Forge Spirits being the deal DPS. Double, he actually takes a Force, so Sunstrike's going to clean him up. So good recognition coming out from Wolfguard. So the double Forge Spirits, you're not only decreasing their armor, you're constantly proccing the Cold Snap. So every time it's off cooldown, you're proccing it, so you're basically stun locking your target down. You've also got the Necronomicon minions. Necronomicon minions deal a huge amount of damage if you can provide the lockdown. And it also gives you, a huge amount of solo killing power, which is something that the Quas Exile Invoker excels at. And then you can translate that into pushing power, which is what Quas Exile Invoker really lacks. You can slow siege the Forge Spirit, but having that and the Necronomicon 3 minions, especially if you can get it by the 20-minute mark, It means that not only do you win fights, because your minions deal so much damage, even if you don't really do anything, all you have to really do is cold snap and stand back, and let your minions do all the work and beat them down. And then once you're able to get that kill, you translate that into tower and get even further ahead. So only Method Man wants to go for the bar strike, but he doesn't have points to really be able to catch him out with it. So only backing away immediately the instant he sees the Sand King. King Killer still hugging there, he's got a Blink Dagger. So King Killer really likes to go for this. He doesn't like playing that carry position Tiny. Plays a very old school Tiny, throws him in, and then goes up with a bar strike, goes down with the avalanche, and a chain frost flying out from Ghoulie. Ghoulie does this once again, kills King Killer. Method Man, looking for his life. Gaff gets called out with the plasma field, and they actually able to turn that into 3 kills. Only stays alive through all of this, and then a mech being used. They should actually be able to deal a lot of pressure damage over the tail 1. I don't think they could kill it, especially with the UGTFO there, and the other 3 heroes respawning in about 10 seconds. With a great turnaround kill coming up from 5IP as Ghoulie doing it once again. If you don't jump on Ghoulie, he's going to turn it around. And they've seen this movie before, looks like. We are going to be seeing a zoo build over the Invoker. So you'll be having that in about 900 more gold. So if Wolfgang is uncontested in his farm, they're able to find the tower, he will be getting something like a 19 to 21 minute and Necronomicon 3. And that's going to be making a lot of difference. So in terms of gold lead, now about a 3,000 gold lead, going in favor of 5IP. While I say that, Ghoulie actually going for some body blocks, some sick body blocks coming up from him. Catches out Double D, Sunstrike flies, Sunstrike's in the miss, unfortunately. King Killer jumps in, he eats the Sunstrike, they're able to turn around and get a kill over Ghoulie. So Ghoulie, the turnaround champion, now being blown apart by the Sandy's Eclipse. And the experience lead, about 4,000 experience lead going in favor of 5IP. 5IP, they actually have the superior late game lineup because King Killer, he's gone for this all-in early to mid game strat. Because he's gone in for this ganking Tiny, his late game is significantly weaker. Tiny, if you go for this ganking build, the biggest issue with it is you just don't really deal, especially since you're going for a max avalanche build as opposed to max toss. The reason why you max out toss is the cooldown reduction. Since Avalanche, the only thing that increases is the damage, which is nice if you could get these perfect Avalanches. And since it's got a Blink Dagger, I suppose that's what he's banking on. But otherwise, the toss gives you that guaranteed kills if you've got the mana to be able to toss them again. Because you can use that to follow up. It's got a very low cooldown, so about 9-second cooldown. And then the cooldown decreases, especially. And the damage increases with points and grow. And so usually tosses the build it's maxed out. See about 2 points in the Avalanche early on. But because he's going for this all-in ganking build, if he isn't able to find kills with that Blink Dagger and with the Arcane Boots, then Tiny actually tapers off very quickly. He becomes completely useless once Razor gets a BKB, because the issue with the Razor is every time you draft a melee carry against the Razor, you're in for a bad time. He's going to get a link off. If he gets a good link off, he can single-handedly win a fight. So Mule only opting for 2 points the unstable current, then deciding to max out the static link. So the reason why he's maxing out link is because he has to face boot, so he makes up for the mobility that he would have had from the unstable current. Treads all out phase. It's really a matter of player preference over the Razor. Both boots are very good on him. The Treads just give you the ability to tread switch, which if you have a bottle is very nice. Also gives you a lot more survivability and attack speed, which is something that Razor really lacks because he has such terrible stack growth. But at the same time, if you're going to be playing more of a ganking, or if you're going to be relying more on early points in your static link, going for phase boots just give you a huge amount of maneuverability. So it really is a matter of player preference here there. I mean, neither build is better than the other one. They both have a lot of function and a lot of utility. Ice Blast going to be flying out from Gats from halfway across the map. Should be able to catch up Broder. Broder actually backs out on time. He does get clipped by it. But it means that they should be able to at least force him back for a while. So they might actually be able to try to take this tower. But UGTFO and King Killer, they're placing a lot of pressure over on Double D. He's now their only core. And so the disadvantage of this is 5IP. They've got this textbook tri-core. They've got the Razor, who just simply picked up to shut down one of their other cores. So if he's able to get a good link off on OD, there goes all your damage. Invoker as well, he right-clicks very hard. He has a huge amount of pick-off power with the Meatball Deafening Blast combo. He's got that value point in Wex now to give him that, to give him access for that. The Meatball does obscene amounts of damage. The Chaos Meteor, I believe it does up to about 800 to 900 damage with maxed out Exalt, especially if you've got the Deafening Blast to set it up. And the Deafening Blast also sets up your Sunstrike. So if you're able to, if you've got the Deafening Blast and the Meatball pre-invoked, your Deafening Blast Meatball you immediately invoke and then you drop the Sunstrike where the Deafening Blast is going to push them. That combo does about 1300 damage and about 500 of that is pure once you've got that maxed out Exalt. So it's enough to pretty much instantly kill the heroes that you catch out. Especially since Outworld Devourer looks like he's actually going for the mech. So because he's gone for the mech, a lot of his carry potential has been hampered. Because they're going in for a bit of an all-in strat. Horsemen and Ruckus, they don't win the mid-game, and the game goes late enough. 5IP, they've definitely got the superior late-game lineup. Because King Killer's gone for this all-in ganking Tiny, but he hasn't really been able to make any kills happen with it. So far, he hasn't found any kills with it. He found all the assists he has and all the kills that he's set up for were before the Blink Dagger. And so the Blink Dagger pick up on Tiny, very questionable. Would have preferred the hard carry Tiny because it gives you a late-game assurance. Because the way that Faceless Void wants to build is he wants to build attack speed. Actually, Faceless Void, going for Drums of Endurance ASAP, you usually see Mask of Madness. Because the disadvantage of the Drums is Drums gives you a lot of everything, but it doesn't really give you much killing power. If you on a ranged hero, it gives you a lot of killing power because it gives you a lot of chase, especially if you go face drop. But on a melee hero, not really all too effective. UGTFO could actually be taking full. He has to be wary of the Sunstrike and continue to juke. Wolfgun's got the Sunstrike available. UGTFO, he might decide to hookshot in. Throws out the flare, and Wolfgun decides to back off. He's got Necronomic in 1. Throws out the Sunstrike. Let's see if he's able to catch him out. Looks like he whiffed. UGTFO just barely able to dodge it. And Wolfgun's now called out with the blink coming from King Killer. And there you go. The blink deck is now starting to do a lot of work. That's 1 kill he's gone so far. Mule runs back in. Dumble D doesn't actually. He's got the Insanity Eclipse. He isn't going to be able to use it though. Might be able to get off in time. Chain Frost flying out from Goldie. Ice Blast flies actually completely whiffs. Only should be able to smack him down. He really is wishing he had more points over in the time locks. It's a max backtrack build. Doesn't really give you anything in the early mid game where you're most powerful. But they are able to clean up 2 kills. So really disagreeing with only his Faceless Void build. The drums doesn't give you anything on the Void. You really don't need the drums. Like, you need Mask of Madness because the whole point of Void is you have to kill him in Chronosphere. You have literally one job. Get Chronosphere, kill target in Chronosphere. If you can't kill it, actually waste his Chronosphere. It's a King Killer. Starting 11 catches out Broder. Broder's not going to be too happy with that. And the reason why Mask of Madness is so effective is if you max out the time lock with the Mask of Madness up in the Chronosphere, you are guaranteed a kill. Unless if you are obscenely unlucky, but since it's PRD, you should be guaranteed a kill. Unless if someone interferes with you, so for instance a Shallow Grave or a Disruption, and an unhindered Chronosphere on a single target with the Mask of Madness up in the max out time lock, that's a guaranteed kill every single time it's off cooldown. So it looks like he's actually going for a utility void, so both the Faceless Void and the Tiny going for these really unconventional builds. He's going for the Aghanim Scepter, which is nice, but the Drums of Endurance, you don't need the Drum Set. If you're going for a utility Void, you need to Mask of Madness. There's no point in playing Void and not going Mask of Madness, or playing Void and not maxing back the time lock. Backtrack gives you absolutely nothing. It's like maxing the Bristleback passive on Bristleback. No one gives a damn if you're alive. You might care, but the rest of your team isn't going to be too fussed, because you're not doing damage. You don't pick a damage healer to build survivability. You pick a damage dealer to deal damage. So by maxing out Backtrack and not having that solo killing power with the time lock, you're putting too much pressure on Wolfgun to follow up the Sunstrike, and even with the Sunstrike, they don't have enough killing power now. And so if he was going for the Aghanim Scepter, the biggest weakness of that build is you don't have any damage. And so that's why you go Mask of Madness first, and then you go for the Aghanim Scepter, because now you have all the damage in the world from your attack speed, and then you have all the lockdown, as well as the flexibility of being able to use it on a single target, because it's got a 60-second cooldown. And so really disagreeing with Only's build, this could, if they do lose the game, a lot of pressure will be placed on him for this, because it's completely hampered his late game. Method Man, TPing in, he's got Stages Mask up on him. Jamie still does this in every single game, despite me telling him not to. Sands ground up against Only. He actually guessed correctly. Sandstorm's on cooldown. Wolfgun should be able to take that tower. We're actually got Fortification being used. Dumbledee's coming in, and now they immediately back away. They don't want to mess with Dumblede coming in, especially since he still has Sanity. So he saved that. He didn't use it as he died. Good recognition coming out from him. King Killer's able to deny it. And it looks like he's going for drums. So King Killer and Only both going for these suboptimal builds, and that could be a critical factor, especially in the mid to late game. Especially if the game goes late, Tiny becomes pretty much useless in the late game because he's got no more damage. And Tiny, you do have that burst damage combo, but if you're able to, you still have access to that burst damage combo if you go for the carry build. So there's no real point to go for this build. Chronosphere being used, King Killer's Zombies being used up on him as well. You're getting time locks, and now the Sunstrike. But look how long it took for him to kill him. If there's another hero there, or if you called out 2 heroes, you just have enough damage to be able to kill King Killer. And that's with the Sunstrike and the Tombstone and Broder there to follow up with the Decay as well as the Soul Root. You need to be self-sufficient with the Void so that you could go for the solo kill. That's the reason why you go for offlane Voids. The reason why he's so damn powerful is because he can set things up on his own. And so I suppose the advantage of going for the drums is it means that you're never going to be under mana. It means that you've got a lot more survivability. But Void doesn't need to give a damn about survivability if you get a good chrono off. If you get a chrono off on the right target, if you kill that target, you don't need survivability because they're dead. Who's going to hurt you? Or if you do take a fall, you've set up for the rest of your team. And so going for the Aghanim Scepter without the Mask of Madness gives you 0 damage. So that means that you're relying too heavily on Wolfgun as well as Mule to be able to deal that damage, which can be fine and dandy. It's just the issue is he could have had both. He could have gone for the Mask of Madness and then gone for it. It's about almost the exact same amount of gold cost, 1875 for the Drums of Endurance compared to 1900 for the Mask of Madness. King Killer actually whiffed his Avalanche, so it's going to be on cooldown for a while. And so he could have gone for pretty much the exact same build and maxed out the time lock, and we've given him the exact same amount of lockdown utility that he had before, but only it's a much more optimal build because it gives you more damage, which is why you pick the Void. And if you go for an Aghanim Scepter, then it still gives you that solo killing power because you still have the time lock damage with the Mask of Madness being able to go for kills. If you go for the max backtrack build, like I said, it doesn't really matter if you stay alive. Your sole job is to get a Chronosphere off and to be able to kill targets in that Chronosphere. Chain Frost being committed, he's actually going to clean up King Killer as well as Gats. The Method Man comes with an epicenter, he should be able to bring down Wolfgun. They're actually standing on the standstill, there's no sentry wall being up. UTFO comes and actually able to bring down 2. Mule's also on the back line. Glow with the Astro Imprisonment, Dumbledore's able to run in, they should be able to bring him down. He's using the IS, he actually gets a kill in the back line with the Necronomicon minion. I think the warrior last word did enough to be to bring down Method Man, so Jamie's not going to be too happy with that. He did take that fall, but he got enough gold to be able to pick up his Blink Dagger before he died. And so I suppose he's very happy with that. Great defense coming out from Horsemen of the Ruckus, up against 5 IP. And so with that, about 7,000 gold lead going in favor of Horsemen of the Ruckus. Now they're going to be able to take that tier 1 in the mid lane. Fortifications being forced, but they should be able to take this, especially since the vast majority of damage is now coming from Mule. Chronosphere is available from Only, but because he's got no solo killing power, it doesn't really matter. He goes in, throws out the... He's got the Chronosphere already. UGTFO's there waiting in the wings. Broda drops the Tombstone. Chronosphere comes out over in Double D. Now they're all rotating in. But if he had that Master Man, Double D would be dead by now. You can switch targets to UGTFO. They're just barely bringing down, investing everything in UGTFO. He might actually be able to escape. Only now jumps back on in. If he... Sunstrike flies, and no, never mind. UGTFO should be taking a fall. So they are able to clean him up, with everybody else rotating in. So I suppose the advantage of this build is it just turns Void into a stun bot, essentially. But like I said, the issue with it is you could still do both. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. The drums, somebody else can pick up the drums. You could give drums over to Broda if he has enough farm. You can even forego drums. You don't necessarily have to have a drums for your team. It's nice, but if you don't have a hero that really synergizes well with the drums, it's a bit of a waste of gold. Razor could be the one going for drums since he's got the phase boot, so phase drums would be very effective on the Razor because it gives you a huge amount of mobility, and the Burrow Strike as well as the Ice Blast. The 2 supports cleaning up Wolfgun. So Jamie getting a bit of revenge. Method Man able to clean him up. Gats has got to be very careful. There's only time walks forward and smacks him in the face and shatters him. Mace beats Ice. Who would have thought it? He's now got enough for the Aghanim Scepter, so 60-second Chronosphere is now available, and that gives 5 IP a max amount of pick-off power. But like I said, still could have that with the Masking Man. So I keep going back to this, because if they do lose this game, for whatever reason, if they happen to lose this, a lot of the pressure then falls on Void, because the Void, if you went for the Masking Man, would have solo killing power as well, so it meant that you don't have to have your entire team rotate with you. You don't have to rely on Wolfgun to be the follow up the Sunstrike, or even with the Sunstrike, you still might not have enough damage. But that being said, same amount of blame can be placed on Kid for going for this highly unconventional ganking build. I guess he gets bored with playing a carry position tiny, so all you really do is hit creeps for about 20 minutes and then start hitting heroes. But he's not going to be having an Aghanim Scepter for a long time. Even if he does go for an Aghanim Scepter, he doesn't have enough attack speed to make use of it. He's getting 1 attack per 1.7 seconds. And so it doesn't matter how hard you hit, if you're only getting 1 attack off every 3 seconds, especially concerning the fact that Razor will be able to burn off a good chunk of your damage by that point, he's actually got his Aghanim Scepter of his own. So 5 IP, the Death Ball is now online. They've got Necro 3 up by the 24 minute mark, they've got Aghanim Scepter up on the other 2 cores. 5 IP, the ball's now in their court. If they group up as 5 and push, but their ultimates are up, they should be able to decisively win these fights. So it's up to UGTFO to try and disrupt the flow of the team fight by jumping on them before they can jump you. And it's up, and a lot of pressure is over at Gats as well as Method Man to be able to use their ultimates to be able to create enough damage, since none of them have BKBs yet, to be able to try to turn the tide. But otherwise, if they're not able to do that, 5 IP could just run down through mid, take its set of racks, and start creating absolute havoc. Because King Killer, he's not really accomplishing anything with this build. He's 0-4 for 6, so he's actually got a much worse score than the rest of his team. Very rare to see Kin play like this. I mean, he's probably bored. I can't really blame him, since 1 position tiny is fairly boring. You just farm creeps for like 20-30 minutes before you get your eggs, and then maybe you start to go in these fights. So, I mean, you can't really fault him for trying to spice it up, but that being said, it's game number 3. A lot's on the line. The team that loses this gets knocked down to the lose bracket. And so the lose bracket final, which I believe will be the winner of... it could be Sync 2 v Blink, since there's still a few series to go. Easter v Recursion, so game number 3 happened about an hour ago. So the winner of that's playing up against Sync 2. And then the winner of that should be playing up against Blink, I believe. And then from there on, you move on to lose bracket finals. Only comes in completely whiffs the Chronosphere. But I guess the advantage of the Aghanim Scepter is they just back off for 60 seconds. And King Killer runs back into it. Haste run up on Double D, but the Haste run just wore off. And so he's now picked up his 4-staff. So the disadvantage of the Outworld Devourer is you pretty much always have to go for 4-staff to be able to reach your full damage potential. Deny secured coming out from Only. A lot of trash talk coming out from them. But the team fight advantage now goes in favor of Horsemen of the Ruckus. They have that 37-second window to take the tower. Because once the Chronosphere comes online, which is something that Horsemen of the Ruckus might not expect, they can turn this around. And Mule, Eye of the Storm being used as the level 2 Eye of the Storm, is actually standing his ground against UTFO. He's gone into a blade mail up though. Chain Frost being committed. Apparition and Barrowstrike actually catching out 3. They actually might be the kill off on them, but the Chain Frost from Ghoulie doing so much work. King Killer, he's dead. He's got no mobility up. He's got no stun available. Dumble D runs back and trying to get the kill over Wolfgun, but the stun locks are coming in with the time lock, as well as the Necronomicon 3 with the Cold Snap, Gats is also going to be taking falls. Wolfguard should be able to run him down. It's actually, he leveled up Wex 3 times, been ensure that kill. With the Faceless as well as movement speed, there you go. Necro Mage able to deal that last hit, was only able to smack him down. So even without the Chronosphere, 5 IP able to take that fight. Now with that kill gold, should be about 10,000 gold league going in their hands. Since they should be able to deal a fair amount of damage, so able to farm these creeps in the meanwhile while all their heroes are dead. Only, I guess the Drums of Endurance actually helping him out a lot there, actually keeping him alive during that. So even without a Chronosphere, Faceless probably being a little bit more useful simply because he was able to stay alive and because they were prioritizing only while Wolfguard was left unmolested. And you see the power of the Zoo build. He's going for an Agnum Scepter of his own. He's almost got it. You only ever want to go for an Agnum Scepter on an Invoker if you're playing Quas Exort. If you go Quas Wex, you don't have enough points in Exort for the Agnum Scepter to be effective. Because the reason why you go Agnum Scepter is because it reduces the mana, it removes the mana cost from the Invoke first of all, and it drops the cooldown to 2 seconds. It's not too important on the Quas Wex Invoker because you don't have enough points in Exort for your abilities to deal a lot of damage. I suppose it gives you a fair amount of control, but the reason why you go from the Quas Exort is it lets you combo like crazy. You could, now that it's got a few points up in the Tornado, you could Tornado, EMP, immediately re-invoke to the Chaos Meteor, and then invoke that back then into the Deafening Blast. Or you could go for the Invoker, the Quas Exort combo, Deafening Blast, sorry, the Meatball, Deafening Blast, Sunstrike, and then you Cold Snap them afterwards, because you're going to have enough invoke time to start invoking these other spells. And also, it means that you can constantly be throwing out, you'll always have your Force Spirits available, and you can always drop in the Alacrity after you use your major team fight spells. And so the Agnum Scepter does give you a huge amount of power if you go for if you go on the Quas Exile Invoker, and if you actually pick up a Refresher Orb, you can assassinate pretty much any hero in the game. You deal an obscene amount of damage because you could do the Quas Exile combo where you do the Meteor, the Deafening Blast, and Sunstrike, and then you can re-invoke that and do it and drop it again. So the double Meatball, double Deafening Blast, and the double Sunstrike is enough to pretty much combo down any hero in the game. I believe it deals something like 3,100 magic damage with about 1,000 of that being pure. Uses TF action, hook shots and catches out Mule. This could be a huge turnaround. Pops the Blade Mail, so Mule should be taking a fall. Mule actually shatters, only actually catches out. It looks like he catches out his entire team with that as well. Tombstone's been dropped. That stands his ground, only backs away. He's a little bit ashamed of that. Dumbledore has the Sandy's Eclipse, he uses it to clean up Undying. So Bro takes a fall. Wolfguard caught up with the Sandy's Eclipse, and Methman's able to get out of the Cold Snap range. So Wolfguard now flee for his life. They are being snared up by the zombies. Dumbledore comes with the Arcane Orb, should be to bolt him down, and only he's a little kill that he completely messed up with that Chronosphere, so now he just gets on out of there. Not really able to achieve too much with that. Usually TFO does get the Barrier Assault last hit over in the Necronomicon 3, but the last one pops and takes a lot of damage. And they just fed Roshan over the Horsemen the Ruckus. This is a huge turning point for the game because 5 IPs, they've lost a massive influx of gold, and most importantly, with all their heroes down, and without buyback available, they can try pressure high ground. And if they're able to take the set of racks, or at least take one of their tier 2s, the Gold League goes further and further in their hands. So it should actually be the pressure this tier 2. Only will have his Chronosphere available in 5 seconds, so maybe they should be playing a little bit more defensively. But they've got the Aegis of the Immortal up on Dumbledore, so even though he's the only effective damage core, he's all they need at this point, because he's got the Aegis of the Immortal, so good luck trying to bring him down twice. Looks like he's opting not to go for a BKB, instead probably going to be what looks like a sheep stick. And the reason why OD can choose to sometimes full go mech is you just deal so much damage with Sandy's Eclipse at the start of a fight that you want to fight decisively off the back of that. Because OD, if you don't interrupt him, if you're not able to control him, his Arcane Orb hurts like hell. Especially since the majority of the damage that you're receiving from OD is pure damage. And so it cuts through all of Faceless Void's armor, cuts through all of Mule's armor. And Razor as a hero, because he has such terrible stack growth, and because he usually doesn't build any armor boosting items besides the mech and maybe the Soul Cuirass, he's not going to have much armor to work with. And so his armor's pretty much paper at this point. So OD should be able to shred him if they are not able to control him. But usually TFO, great hookshot initiation. He's the one that turned that. So his consistent performance will really be helping keep HOR in the game, especially since King Killer kind of throwing the game a bit with his build. He's now going for an Agnum Scepter, but he's only going to be getting one attack in every other second. And so the Agnum Scepter build really isn't going to be doing too much for him until he picks up another attack speed item. But while I say that, in the mid lane, looks like a 5 IP able to take up 2 kills, and with all their ultimates up, and with Eye of the Storm as being used, they're actually going to start pressuring the tier 3. They've got buyback available for the Sankey. You might be forced to go through it, especially Gaps as well, because they've got the Epicenter available. That's the only way they can really try to hold the lane. They can't afford to give away a set of racks, especially against the Zoo build, because especially since 5 IP already are ahead. Sankey buys back, King Killer throws out the Avalanche, actually eats the last words, takes a fair amount of damage, so they back off. The slow siege coming in from the Invoker's minions might actually be enough for me to bring down the tier 3, but never mind. Wolfguard just feeds both as the Necronomicon minions. And Sankey, he finds a bit of recovery gold. So they immediately break off, and the Aghanim Scepter now up for Tiny. So he's got that big stick, but he just doesn't have the attack speed to really make good use of it. And so we might actually be seeing Tiny going towards something like a Molnir and a Soul Caress, but until he gets those items, his damage output is very low. So this is the disadvantage of going both the Arcane Boots and then the Drums of Endurance, is it doesn't, and the Blink Dagger, sorry, is it doesn't really give you any carry potential. It gives you ganking presence, but he wasn't able to really translate that Blink Dagger into too many kills. He got maybe 2 kills off that, and he probably could have gone them anyway, because the Astral Imprisonment set them up. And so the Arcane Boots on Tiny is also not really too great when you've got an Outworld Devourer, because the Outworld Devourer is Essence Aura. If you get 1 proc, you're going to restore a good chunk of your mana. And so you don't necessarily need the Arcane, it's not going to give you enough benefit over the Treads or over the Phase. If you went for Phase Boots, would have been a bit more understanding, because it gives you that mobility. And so if you go for a carry Tiny build, you can just run people down, especially if you go Phase Drums on Tiny. And it also gives you a huge amount of killing power very early on, because you can simply just run up to them, run right up to their face, and then drop the combos. Exact same idea as the Blink Dagger, but it gives you a lot more consistent DPS. It gives you a lot more reliable mobility. But if the game does go late enough, the Tiny's able to pick up another damage item. There we go. Now he's sold his Arcane Boots, picked up his Treads. The King Killer playing for serious now. Now his attack speed immediately goes up like crazy. His damage output, he went from 1.6 attacks per second to 1.17. So if he's able to pick up another attack speed item, so he can even go for a Mask of Madness if he wants to go really crazy. Or most likely going to be something like an Assault Caress, then he's going to reach a point where he's very powerful. But because he went for such an suboptimal item build, a lot of his DPS potential is being limited. It means that Horsemen and Ruckus, that carries a play from behind in terms of net worth. You got to subtract about 3,500 gold from his net worth. So the Arcane Boots as well as a Blink Dagger, 3,600 I suppose. Oh yeah, 3,500 since the Arcane Boots, the boots only cost about 450 gold, 450 gold, sorry, plus 1,000 for the energy boosters. So yeah, about 3,600 of his net worth is completely useless, especially since he then sold his Arcane Boots. So the Blink Dagger wasn't really able to make much plays with it. I suppose the advantage of the Blink Dagger is it means that you could engage from a further distance, and that is nice when you're playing against a Void. So maybe that could have been his rationale for picking it up, since he was able to use it to disjoint at least 1 Chronosphere. So it does give you that immediate pick-off power, especially if you jump on the support heroes. So you do have that going for you as a Tiny. It's just that because he went for such an optimal build, if 5IP group up as 5 and run down the mid lane to win another fight, they should be able to end the game decisively. And Horseman and Ruckus, in that case, all the pressure then falls over on Tiny, because he wasn't able to come online quickly enough. So he's delayed his effectiveness, the point before he becomes really effective, by about 5 minutes by going for that build. So 5 to 6 minutes where he's not where he should be, considering the amount of farm investment that's gone his way. But UGTFO, as always, he's the foundation which Horseman and Ruckus play off. Very standard build up on him. He loves to rush the Aghanim Scepter after he gets the phase, and then he picks up the Blade Mail somewhere in between, either before or after, depending on how much farm he's receiving. And so with that, every single time he's able to isolate Mule. And so Clockwork works well against the Razor, but at the same time, Razor also works very well against the Clockwork. Once the BKB comes online for Mule, Clockwork, he can't really hookshot to Mule, because that means that Mule's guaranteed to get a good link off. And if Mule gets a good link off, he can carry his team through, because he just deals so much damn damage. But he really wants to be saving his link for King Killer. So maybe that could be the rationale for the Blink Dagger. So he wants to wait for Mule to use the link, and the static link on another hero, and then blink it. So that could be a rationale. In that case, it actually does make a lot of sense. Would have preferred him to go for Treads first in that case, since it at least would have it meant that he wouldn't have to double back on his items and go for the Treads after selling his Arcane Boots. A King Killer, slow sieging. He knows that only can't initiate on him, because if he time walks forward, he blinks out. So that's the advantage of the Blink Dagger. So it's more of a tactical advantage in this case, but that being said, still is a bit of a suboptimal build, because he went for the Arcane Boots, so he's forced to double back. UGTFO is going to break the smoke. So they're grouping up for a smoke rotation. UGTFO, he's being pinged down, they want to go on him. Coolly reveals the smoke with his Frost Blasting and pops the cogs. He's backing off, they're able to clean up the tower in the meanwhile. King Killer blinks in, catches out Mule, the Meteors should be able to bring him down. Only catches out 2 with the Chronosphere. He actually catches out 2 most important heroes, the Dumblebee as well as UTFO. But while it's happening, Method Man, he catches out 3. He catches out 4 with the Burst, then the Epicenter. He's actually turning the fight on his own. That's one with the Ice Blast, doing a huge amount of work, running fleet for his life. Only on the back line, forced to retreat. Method Man's got Burst Strike available in 1 more sec. He's actually got off cooldown now. But Necronomicon 3 minions, you can't sandstorm like that, buddy. He Burst Strikes through, he pops off one of the minions, but then Bro just smacks him down to decay. And so good turnaround coming up from HOR, but 5IP able to disengage and then re-engage successfully. Don't know why he sandstormed there. He knows that there's a Necronomicon 3. He knows that Broder, you usually want to bring Dust or Sentries, and he had Dust available anyway. So it looks like Undying's going for... He picked up Vladimir's offerings just to provide that extra armor as well as the lifesteal and the damage. Vladimir's offering a very cost-efficient item, gives you a lot for very little. And then now it looks like he's going for the Aghanim Scepter. So the Aghanim Scepter on the Undying not really the greatest item set to upgrade. I suppose the advantage it gives you is it makes you a lot more difficult to bring down when things are dying, because it pretty much doubles the heal that you get. And so it can work out, since if Undying's alive, the damage aura he provides, the damage application aura he provides, as well as the slight snare, is quite effective. But that being said, would have preferred something maybe like a Shiva's Guard. Shiva's Guard would be absolutely crippling against Undying, because he has such little attack speed to work with. So if, with the Shiva's Guard aura on him, he'd have 91 attack speed. So be having attack every 2 seconds. And when he's doing something like that, Mule can link off all his damage by then. Mule, with that fight, he's got his BKB up now, especially with that creep wave that he's about to farm up. So you should be picking up his BKB. And once he has that BKB, usually Invoker no longer hookshot on him. So Method Man and Gats making a huge play, as they were able to at least make a 5 IP pay for it a bit, since he's making only regret not chronosphering him. Because every single time he does that, he got 4 heroes in the episode as well, the Burrow Strike, with a massive amount of damage. If they had a Sandy's Eclipse available for that, sorry, it looks like he did get that Sandy's Eclipse up. If they had another form of a damage up, so if King Killer wasn't called out so early on, they could have turned that fight, because all 4 heroes from 5 IP, very low HP, aside from only, since he didn't receive a lot of that epicenter damage, so they actually could have turned that fight quite decisively. But unfortunately, because King Killer was called out so early on, because he was completely blown apart, a lot of Horsemen of Ruckus' damage is simply then coming from the Outworld Devourer, and they locked him in the Chronosphere. So every single time only catches out Dumbledore in the Chronosphere, they should be able to win this fight decisively. Because if they could kill him before he gets his Sanities off, Horsemen of Ruckus, they don't have as much damage to work with. Looks like he's got a Sheepstick, he's now going towards the Shiva's Guard, so no BKB up on the Outworld Devourer. I guess he knows that he's always going to be the Chronosphere priority target. He pretty much knows every single fight he's going to get Chronosphered. If he doesn't get Chronosphered, he doesn't necessarily need the BKB, because the only other form of lockdown they have is the Cold Snap, but they seem to be using that on Kin for now. And so Dumbledore, I suppose he can try to disregard the amount of magic damage coming out. Mule gets called out, he's got the BKB, he actually stands his ground, UGTFO, he smashes the cog, says get me out of here, but he's going to be taking a fall. As Mule, he's got the static link damage, and then he turns, he goes in on Gats. Gats actually also could be taking a fall as well if he decides to dive this. They take the Tattoo, only still waiting in the wings with the Chronosphere available, and still a very close game. The team that's able to win this next fight, actually, even if Horsemen and Ruckus do win this fight, because they 5 IP still have their Tattoos up, Horsemen and Ruckus have to win a fight, catch him without buyback, and try to wipe him again. In terms of gold lead, it's actually completely even, going to be about a slight 1,000 gold lead in favor of 5 IP, but that's absolutely nothing. But in terms of experience, 7,500 gold lead going in favor of 5 IP. With that being said, about 3,600 gold from the Tiny, you could pretty much subtract, because he had to double back on his items, because he went for that blink tag and wasn't able to accomplish enough kills with it. And so 5 IP, their cores are a lot more fun. Wolfcunt, they've finally overcome Dumbledore's golden advantage they had earlier on. Wolfcunt and only they're obscenely farmed. Necronomicon 3 up, he's got his BKB. Invoker's going for his own, he's got Aghanim Scepter, sorry, he's going for his own BKB, because now he knows that if you can't control the Invoker, he will style all over you. He'll be able to drop to the Chaos Meteor, he's got the Forge Spirits up, he can Alacrity himself, and right-click like an absolute champ, because he does so much right-click damage to the attack speed he has, especially since Alacrity provides that flat increase in damage. Or he could Alacrity over only to make up for the fact that he doesn't have any kind of damage. He's now picked up a Maelstrom, so going towards a Molnir, but Faceless Void now has his BKB. And considering the fact that Horsemen and Ruckus have been winning these fights off the back of all the magic damage coming out from their heroes, now that the BKBs are online, they're still wait for Wolfcunt to farm his own BKB up, and then they can barrel down mid. With BKBs up on all their cores, incredibly difficult for Horsemen and Ruckus to be able to win this fight. Since it's the 10-second BKB on only, I think it's a fresh BKB up. Never mind, he looks like he used that in that last fight. Mule, 9-second BKB as well, so 2 9-second BKBs and 10-second BKB. That's going to outlast the Ice Blast, going to outlast the Sandy's Eclipse, going to outlast the Epicenter. So that means that these 3 heroes, they've now barreled down mid. So the biggest disadvantage of Outworld Devourer as a carry hero is once BKBs come online the cores, all his damage is gone. He no longer does the obscene amount of damage. So Force's pure damage is blocked by Magic Immunity. Sandy's Eclipse is pure damage, is magic damage, so it's completely disregarded. Only actually goes for a time lock as opposed to going for the Chronosphere. King Killer stands his ground, but looks like he just did a bit of a throw there as he lost his life outside of the base. He's going to be forced to buy back if they want to hold this. He's got a Hyperstone up, but because he had to double back in terms of his items, huge amount of gold loss going in favor to the cause in 5 IP, and a huge amount of gold being lost by Horsemen and Ruckus. So a lot of the fault for this game does rest with King Killer going for his bit of an unconventional build. They've got either Storm up, so should be able to breach the tier 3 very easily. So Mule should be just pushing up. The rest of the heroes have to hang back behind him, because I know that if they don't initiate on the Razor, he's going to take your Rex. But they are grouping up, so still feeling a little bit cocky. I guess what King Killer did, he should be buying back now. There we go. He's now bought back. They're prioritizing the range tracks so they can bring them down a lot easier in case they're forced to back off a bit early. They're going in for the range tracks. He used a rare hookshot miss coming out from him. Ice Blast flies out. It catches out actually nobody. He does clip Mule, but Mule pops his BKB. UCFO, he's going to be left alone to die. He's caught behind enemy lines. Chronosphere lands. Catches on 3. After that comes up from Method Man, doing what he can. Veil Discord up on them as well. They are able to try to get these kills, but BKB's now up and only. He doesn't give a damn. Time locking King Killer down. The Chain Frost bouncing back and forth. The Tombstone Zombie might actually be able to deal enough damage. Stands his ground, tries to get a kill. They aren't able to get any kills off this. They finally bring down Brodo, but they lose 4. They get completely wiped. That's a buyback wipe as well. That could be a tier 3 also taking a fall. As you've got the Zoo build from Invoker really coming into its own. Necronomican's unfortunately on cooldown. He alacrities himself to be that deal that extra burst of damage. There we go. They're going to take a second set of racks. It looks like 5 IP are going to be able to knock down Horsemen and Ruckus into the losers bracket finals. And it really all boils down to the Tiny. The fact that he wasn't able to come online, because he didn't. That 3,600 gold could have been the BKB that they had. It meant that he would be a lot more effective. Tiny's a much more powerful late game carry than the Faceless Void, because Faceless Void relies so heavily on attack speed. He's going to stun lock himself with the Craggy Spirit. So it means that if Tiny can weather out the Chronosphere, or if only doesn't have a BKB up when he's fighting the Tiny, he could be taking a fall. But fantastic performance coming up from 5 IP, despite only a bit of an unconventional build, maxing out backtrack as opposed to the time locking, going for the drums. King Killer also went for a bit of a suboptimal build, and that's really what it boils down to. The fact that they weren't able to really recover. UCFO goes in for the hookshot, but now that the BKBs are up in their 3 cores, they can't really do anything. So Horsemen and Ruckus, their lineup, they needed Tiny to be that physical DPS. Because they're able to win the early team fights off the back of all that magic damage that they had. But because they didn't have that backup source of physical DPS, it made it very difficult for them to be able to recover. And so Horsemen and Ruckus have been knocked down into loser bracket finals, where I believe they will be playing the winner of all the other loser bracket series. So we've got about 2 to 3 more series to go for the loser bracket finals. I believe Sing2 are currently playing against the winner of Recursion up against Eastnug, so they'll be able to drop in and be able to start casting that if any games still are in progress. And then a note as well for all Dota 2 players in Dunedin, the aspect of gaming Dota 2 community crackdown will be starting next weekend. So it's a completely online tournament taking place over 2 weekends. So next weekend and the weekend after that. And so if you do have a team of players ready, feel free to be able to jump in on that. It's the first sanctioned tournament in New Zealand, so you can buy tickets in games. That means the prize pool it'll be over 1,000. I also believe there's a huge amount of giveaways available for that as well. There are about 64 teams able to register up for it. I think so far there's about 30 or 40 teams signed up for it, so it should be a pretty exciting event. But that being said, I'm going to be taking a quick pause to see if there are any other games in progress, and I'll be right back for more Dota.